Hi there, listener. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. Just so you know, this show contains explicit language and some possible adult themes. Listeners under 13 or anyone who could be offended by the subject matter are given caution. Hello, I'm Wesley Van Hoosen, and this is Good Food for Bad Friends. On this podcast, I'll have a different guest every week to talk about their history with food. Along with each episode, you can find recipes inspired by the featured guest on our website, goodfoodbadfriends.com. Dimitri is a man of the world. He is the most elusive of the friends in these first episodes, but I don't say that as a judgment or insult. He grew up with the influences of many cultures, and that affords him a very wide range of culinary knowledge. I actually got to talk to Dimitri for the first time shortly before we moved away from our bachelor pad, and from then on, we always connected with each other at the various dinner parties in our group of friends. A very vivid food memory I have of Dimitri is of a game night from maybe about 4 years ago. I had to leave for some reason, and I remember feeling bad and coming back with the makings of a cheese plate. Dimitri and I, along with Matt Harvey, scarfed that thing all night. I also remember dominating the game catchphrase with Matt as my partner. One of the beautiful things about a friendship are the moments when you can newly revel in each other's life experiences and learn the things that make up who your friends are. Dimitri, like I said before, is the worldly one. When we're not facing a pandemic, he spends his summers in Alaska as a tour guide for the White Pass Railroad. He's lived in the United States, Mexico, and was born in his native country of Greece. I mentioned this later in the episode, but if we ever texted him and he says he's in another country, let alone another city, I doubt any of us would be surprised. Dimitri is also one of my main affirmators. He has always wanted to know what I've made and the secrets to the process. I love having a friend that comes from such a traveled perspective that can enjoy the food I often pass off as, well, Midwestern fodder. It's reassuring to know that no matter how far people have traveled, where they were raised, or the innumerate life circumstances that they have faced, food is still discoverable and respectable, even if we dismiss our own meals as common and uncultured. I love this guy to death, and as soon as he walks into the party, I know shit's about to get so real and so fun. Please welcome the next bad friend, a man that could himself shame Adonis, Dimitri Pylarinos.
Let's jump right in. I'm
Perfect.
excited.
Awesome. So the first thing I really wondered about everyone was like, what was the first thing, like food item or like meal that you vividly recall? And this can be good or bad, hopefully good, but like, what is a food item that you're like, that just takes you right back to like when you started to discover what you might have liked as a kid?
Nice. Wow. Okay. Well, I think well, let me start by saying that I grew up with a very, very rich cuisine. My father has been cooking Greek food for our family ever since, I can remember. And that just has been fantastic, right? Because the Greek cuisine is my favorite cuisine.
Oh,
It's
fuck,
just
good.
delicious food. It's
God damn.
absolutely delicious.
To me, it's like the sort of culmination of Mediterranean food. Like all the flavors are right. Everything's like, there's no speculation of like, is this experimental? Like you just know.
So true.
It's just like
So
the
true.
flavors involved are gonna make something that is unique, but also really good.
Mm-hmm. I would completely agree. And that kind of just set the foundation, if you would, for the rest of my food life.
Totally, yeah.
But I think I would say that one of the first dishes that I think really awakened me, if you will, to the food world and food life was probably a dish called moussaka.
Ooh.
And moussaka, it's the famous dish that's been mocked on my big fat Greek wedding that's been called mouskaka. Moussaka is a very traditional Greek dish that is optional whether you can add meat to it or not. Ground beef, you can even go with ground turkey. But if you meat aside, it's a lot of delicious vegetables. Right? We've got eggplant, you've got potatoes, You've got a delicious bechamel sauce on top.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. Oh, it's
So good.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Bechamel makes everything good.
Right. Oh, I agree. It's one of my favorite toppings. If yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so I think what I remember is um, just digging into one of these fresh pieces of moussaka that my dad had made, and just tasting everything, right? Whether starting with the bechamel, which may have been the first thing that hit my mouth, then moving down into the eggplant, which was just so perfectly cooked that it's just so, mushy and delicious. And then the potato. And then he always puts the ground beef in his. So then you move down to the meat, and it's just so good.
Yeah.
And I think living through different cultures, Greek, living in Mexico for the 4 years, being exposed to that type of, food culture, just added to I don't think, there are very few things, Wes, that I don't like at this point.
Right.
Few things. But I think living in those different cultures was just such a fun and easy way to get exposed to the food that both of those cultures had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think let's go with that. I think the moussaka piece is definitely where it all started.
That's a great place to start, because it's funny because like growing up in the Midwest, like there's Greek restaurants that are all named after a Greek landmark of some kind.
True,
that's like all of our restaurants. They're all fucking good. But I'm pretty sure my parents very much think it's called moussaka, like Mufasa. But I'm like, see, hearing you say it, I'm like, oh fuck, they're wrong. Like, I've been saying moussaka like a dumbass Nebraskan for fucking 20 years. No, it is very good though. It is one of those dishes where it is like, I've had ones where it's kind of like everything but the kitchen sink goes in, and it becomes this like really intense variation of like vegetable textures, which I like, because I feel like I would really enjoy it the way you're describing with like potatoes, and I love eggplant especially because that's such a like it's I don't blame people who don't like it,
right? It's not,
but if you do like it, it's such an interesting thing to have like as a texture, because it is meaty, but it's not like meaty at the same time. Like it's filling, but it's not.
I know what you're trying to say.
They're kind of like mushrooms in that way. Like they can be very heavy, but but it's still a vegetable at heart. But yeah, no, I love that. That's awesome. And I actually was wondering too. I was like, I wonder what he's gonna say, because I know you've got like a hard background in several different food cultures. So I'm like, I was like, I wonder if it'll be Greek. I was putting my money that it'd be something Greek though. So that is like your first memory of food, but like growing up, it's funny because everyone in our group has had a completely different story of how they grew up around food. Absolutely. And this question I ask everyone is, what was just like a typical meal growing up in your house? Like, if people were in a rush, it was just like every day, just dinner's kind of got to be there. Like, what was something that you'd find pretty often, I guess?
Honestly, you look at a traditional Greek menu from, let's say, any Greek restaurant and do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And
really?
You're more than likely to find one or many of those dishes in the fridge, because my father's been the homemaker, right? So he had time to make these delicious meals. When he cooks, he doesn't make a single serving. He doesn't make 2 servings. He cooks for the family. He makes he makes the whole tray, or the whole what am I trying to say? The pot.
Like you're feeding like 8-10 people at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. He does it to meal prep. You've got meal for the rest of the week, right? You're prepping for the whole week for the whole family.
For sure.
And so he just had the time to make these delicious meals. So the routine from when I can remember, when being young and was just my mom coming home from work, and then we would always make time to have a family meal. That was huge growing up. We'd always eat dinner together, and dinner was always 98% of the time, unless mom was cooking, it was a Greek dish.
Oh wow!
And if it was not a traditional Greek dish, it was my dad's own take on one of those dishes or something like that. putting
For
his own little
sure.
spice or flavor or flair to that
Yeah,
specific.
yeah.
But yeah, so I grew up straight up with moussaka, with pasticcio, with all those traditional Greek dishes, the
Hmm.
argolemono soup, the dolmades, all that stuff is just what
Wow.
we were raised with, which is super super lucky. But the reason was because my father had the time and the love to be able to do that and to share that with us.
Yeah, of course. That's amazing. Yeah.
It was.
I I'm really thankful that my parents made it a point that we would have dinner together with, like, and I feel like you and I were
Same.
like kind of in the last group of people to grow up like without cell phones
Mhm.
around constantly at the dinner
Yeah.
table. Like I do remember a time when the only thing on the dinner table was a newspaper, like no phones. The
Right.
home phone was on a cord,
Yeah, the home phone.
and if it rang at dinner time, like my dad would be livid. He'd go and just hang it up. He'd be like, God damn it. Like,
Yep.
but it
That's
is
awesome.
kind of, I'm very thankful though that my parents were very much in that lane of like, we have to spend at least this amount of time together, and in a weird way, I feel like I kind of loathed it as a kid because, you know,
Yeah.
I
We
don't
didn't
know.
understand. We didn't
We didn't get
understand.
it.
We
Like,
didn't.
all I wanted to do was like go back and do what I was doing. But
Right.
at the same time, I feel like having that kind of bond with your family really sets you up for not only like just like loving your family for who they are, but also it makes food something that's a priority to people. It's
Mhm.
not just like a rushed, you know, here's, your Happy Meal,
Right.
deal with it. Eat
Yeah.
your 4 McNuggets. That's not enough. Like,
Who calls that a meal? I don't know.
fuck. I don't know. It's so funny. Like when I was like, wow, that was a meal. That's like, that's like the first snack for me. Like
Yes. Yeah. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
one time I think my brother got a Happy Meal and he came home with the drink. I'm like, what the hell is this? I was like, this is like 3 sips. Like, what? Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so like your dad would cook most of the
Mhm.
time for your family. Would he do the holidays too, or like any special occasions, or was that kind of a more like family affair?
Great
Or how
question.
does, yeah, because I really like, the question really is like what were the holiday meals, but it kind of sounds like, if your dad was on cooking every day, he would probably be like, all right, let's do the feast, like the big feast.
You would think, right? But it was actually the opposite. When
Really?
since he would cook on a regular basis for the holidays, this is all obviously now growing up. For the holidays, since the majority of my mother's family was here in the U.S., we would spend the holidays with them. And
Okay.
they are located in Griffith, Indiana, in that area.
Sure.
So it's somewhat close to us here in Illinois. So we just take the drive around the lake, go down to Indiana. And so when we would go to these family gatherings in Indiana, my dad would have his day off. So he wouldn't have to worry about the cooking. Now, this is where I got exposed to the Romanian side of the cooking and the German side of the cooking, also a
Ooh,
big part.
love it.
My knowledge on these dishes isn't obviously as in depth as the Greek dishes, but
Mhm.
here at these parties, my Romanian relatives would cook dishes such as sarmale, which is like a kind of like a casserole, but it's wrapped in cabbage
Sure.
with some traditional sauce. It's called sarmale, and then there would
Okay.
be other interesting dishes that I had never, and I started tasting and sampling, and
Mhm.
but so for the holidays, it would be a mix of Romanian cuisine, German cuisine, and then you'd have American thrown in there too. So, for example, for Thanksgiving, there would always be the traditional, turkey, mashed
Mhm.
potatoes, gravy, stuffing, et cetera, et cetera. But then you'd
Yeah.
also have a mix of, we'd bring some Greek desserts, and then there'd be like a Romanian appetizer, for example, or something that you'd throw on there for some flavor, something like that. So
Yeah.
kind of a jumble, man.
I love that though. I mean, I love that holidays, especially now that sort of we've become a little more cultured, I think, hopefully, God willing, as
Hopefully.
a society.
Right.
But I love that Thanksgiving especially is one of those holidays where you have all the like American things, but you have to bring in like the flavors of your culture
Mhm.
into. Like I love going to Mexican Thanksgivings because it's
Never been to
none of
one.
it's
How is it?
none of it's American food. That's like the one
Yeah.
the one I went to, the family cooked no American food, I think, except for mashed potatoes, but they weren't quite like mashed potatoes. They were almost like fried mashed potatoes because they had like
Nice.
kind of a hash brown
Huh.
crust on. They were fucking good.
Sounds really good.
I don't know if that was just a thing they liked,
know.
and they were like, we just make them. But like
Wow.
they had like enchiladas, and they had all sorts of like, they had like a taco bar. Like it was intense. I was like, there's like 4 different main courses. Like,
That sounds so
but my family though, it's funny because we grew up with the pure Midwest American holiday meals, like
good. Mhm.
prime rib at Christmas, Thanksgiving or turkey Thanksgiving, ham on Easter. And it wasn't until I started making friends with like y'all where I was like, oh, we can have other things on
Yes.
Thanksgiving. Like we can have like spanakopita on Thanksgiving. That's not just a thing I buy alone in the freezer section. Like
Definitely not.
and
Definitely
eat in one sitting. But like
Yes.
but that's awesome though. I love that your dad got to like have his time off on the holidays, because I feel like that's especially where it's like I cook all the goddamn time, and here's my day where I can just chill the fuck out, and everything else is taken care of. That's really cool.
He chills
It's also
and
like
he samples the other dishes and he makes his critique on them, you know?
oh, that was my job as a kid when my granddad was teaching
Critiquing?
how to cook, was critiquing. Yeah,
Awesome.
maybe that's
Were
why.
you
I'm real-
honest 100% of the time?
No, he
No.
terrified me. I was like, it's really good. Like, it was really good though. I wasn't lying, but I didn't want to say no, it's a little dry, because I would, get
The
my
fear
ass
of-
handed to me. Give me like a background, a timeline of how you grew up, like location wise, like when you started, like, was there any place you lived full time during those times? Because I guess like I know where you've been, but I don't know for how long, or like any of that kind of like
Mhm.
detail stuff.
Mhm. So in the beginning,
Sure.
there was birth.
Yes.
Birth. I was born in Greece. Right?
After the womb, there
after
was
the after the womb the post womb location was Greece. And then we lived there for a total of probably like a little less than a year, to be honest with you. We got out of there pretty quick. My parents wanted to start me in school here in the US, and just to move. So
Sure.
I was born, and then I spent a little under a year in Greece. We moved here to the United States, specifically to Mundelein, Illinois, which is, we all
Okay.
know where Mundelein is.
I've actually not
And
been to Mundelein. That's like the one place in Illinois
you're not missing much, man. You're not missing too much. Even
I
from
hear
what I
there's a-
remember.
I hear there's a good Asian store. I mean, I don't know. There's a really good one in Arlington Heights though, so I just go to that one.
Nice.
But anyway, okay, so you moved to Mundelein.
Yes, Mundelein, and then we lived there for 4 years. And then after Mundelein, we packed up again and we moved to Mexico City.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that was due to my mother's job. She works for a international bank called Bank of Montreal, BMO. And so we moved to Mexico. We were living in Mexico for another 4 full years. It was a fantastic time. And then after Mexico, after those 4 years in Mexico, then we moved back to the United States, to Antioch.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was in 3rd grade at the time. And then we stayed in Antioch from that time until I finished high school. So if any one
Okay.
place were to be full time for me, it would be Antioch. That's the place
sure.
I've lived longest.
That's
So
awesome.
there you have it.
Cool. I always feel like, I don't know. I think I was telling Josh this. I was like, Dimitri is one of those friends where it's like he's so worldly. It's like if he said, "Oh, I'm actually like in Spain," we'd be like, oh, "Okay." Like we'll just hang out
It's
later
true.
then. Like it's like not shocking. Like it's like, oh, he's in another country right now. Like, oh, okay.
I could show you. Actually, I have a message on my phone that's from one of my friends, Lana, and she's like, "Whereabouts in the world are you right now?" Like,
Yeah.
I want to get some of those messages just because I have bounced around a bit.
I mean, it's awesome though, because I feel like you lived in a part of Mexico. Like I've never been to Mexico City. I'd love to visit Mexico. Just speaking Spanish, loving the food, loving the culture. It's like a top place for me. But I imagine the food culture is different there than what people think of like Mexican food in the United States. Because even from what my cousins have cooked, there's a lot of different like it's almost like the flavors in Mexico are like softer than what Tex-Mex food is, or like southwestern U.S. Mexican, whatever you call it, Chipotle. It's Chipotle. I know.
That's a great
Don't
descriptor word. That's a
chastise
great
people.
adjective. Yeah.
I don't know. Like
It's softer though. I think that's a great
yeah,
adjective.
because
That's a
like
great,
I always feel like something has like there's a lot of sauces involved. There is like spicy food, yeah, but it's not, like cheesy, sour cream, lettuce, beef in
Overload.
your
Right.
face. It's not like taco smell. So it's like this is a steak that has a very nice, lovely red sauce on top of it with rice that's not overpowering, and to me, I really enjoy that kind of actual Mexican food. So my question, I guess, was like, were you exposed to really like the way more authentic side of Mexican cuisine in your 4 years there, or do you really remember, or was it really kind of just still Greek food on the table, but maybe a little like, south of the border thrown in?
So so yes and no. More so on the no side, because I'll tell you why. One of the and I remember this vividly. Actually, my dad and I still talk about this this memory that we still have. But excuse me, one of the first times, days, I don't know. We were freshly had moved to Mexico.
Yeah.
And the culture there at the time was to have a housemaid, a maid, a live-in help.
Yeah.
Even though my father was still going to be at home. Now he wasn't going to be at home most of the time, because at this point now he had started his own shoe shop. So he was also they needed someone to stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
And so they found we were interviewing maids, and this maid had to obviously be able to clean and cook for us.
Yeah.
So as we're going through the trial of these ladies that are coming in to apply for us, I remember I was at one of them, and my father had her cook for us, a trial cook, and he said, "Okay, make us something, whatever you'd like." And she made us. I remember this is years ago, so my memory on the what she actually made is not what it used to be. But I just remember a green soup, some kind of a green soup. I don't know what was in it, but she sat us down and she served us this green soup, and my dad and I just looked at each other, and then he just took one like taste, and he was like, he just looked at me. He was like, "It looks like I'll be doing the cooking here as well."
Oh no. Was it like peas, or like that's the only thing I can fathom of being a green soup?
It might have been a pea-based soup. I don't know what else would have been that. It was just like a green, like just so it was like an earthy green. Yeah, man, I don't know, but
oh no.
But from that point on, he was like, "I'll be cooking." So at home, even though we were still in Mexico, it was still Greek cuisine at home. So, and that being said, now I was too young to remember a lot of it. And just because of the fact that we just knew my dad knew what he was cooking, we wouldn't be eating out too much.
Right.
So unfortunately, from my time spent there in Mexico, I want to say I don't really have fond memories of the food culture, unfortunately.
I kind of want to go on like a cultural deep dive and just Google green soup from Mexico and see what I find. And I have it in my notes of things to try to make for your episode. Green soup from Mexico? Like
it's kind of like a green chili or something she was going for, but I don't know, dude. I don't know. And I don't remember what it tasted like. I just remember that we were both just like
nope. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so you say you moved to Antioch when you were in the 3rd grade.
Yes.
So like for the most part, that's kind of been like your hometown. Mm-hmm. Is there a place there that you love to go to eat, or was like a super special place to go when you were a kid or growing up?
Oh man. In Antioch for food.
I've only ever been to the lakes, so I've never actually been to like Antioch the city. Like, I've just been to this like the lake.
there weren't that many good food joints in Antioch, if anything, right? Because remember, I grew up on Greek food, so any chance that
Yeah.
of kind of diverging from that and trying something else, I jumped on.
Yeah.
So I had a friend, you know him, Garrett.
Oh, Garrett. I love Garrett.
Diet was very like just night and day for just complete opposite of mine. He was such a picky eater growing up. Like this man would bring candy to lunch and eat only candy, or like
we
like,
all knew that kid whose parents were like, your parents let you bring pixie sticks to
Right?
school.
That was exactly,
like,
dude.
or I remember there was a kid too who was like, he would bring a can of Coke every day, and I was so fucking jealous of him. I was like, God,
Yes.
I get Coke on my birthday. Like,
I never tried. It's like, I never
beg my grandparents for it, like, because they're all fucking Pepsi drinkers. That was my struggle. Well, I think it's funny though, because we all knew that kid that had candy at school all the time.
And everyone was so jealous, and it was like, oh, I'm going to trade. Will you trade? I'm going to be your garbage. Like, boo, boo, boo,
oh my
boo,
God.
Like,
oh my God. In middle school, those kids graduated to like selling gum out of their lockers. Like that was like where they went.
Right?
Yeah. They were like business moguls at Locker S125. Like,
straight up.
Fuck. I want my Orbit gum for $5. That's awesome. So Garrett has the opposite as you. I didn't know he was a picky eater though. He doesn't strike me as like someone who would just be generally. Maybe that's because I only knew him as an adult, and it's like you never guess that. He's grown out of it.
He's his taste palette is definitely as you would hope. But yeah, and so at lunch I would always just my lunch was just a packed sandwich. It wasn't spectacular Greek dishes. It was just a sandwich straight up. Mostly because I didn't want to bring those Greek dishes and be that one kid that had the Tupperware and the knife and the fork and no one wants to do that. As a kid.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I can't imagine opening a packed lunch and like it's. I mean, I don't know that. I think for kids in like grade school, especially, that's like that's a dinner time food. Lunch is supposed to be handheld. Sticks, like mac and cheese made of glue sticks and Velveeta, because you weren't hungry for the rest of the day. Like
that's so true. Yeah, it filled you up until you got
filled you up and put you in a coma for the 2-hour English class you had in the afternoon. My life, fucking blew.
English after snooze fest.
Why English class? A 2-hour advanced reading English class after lunch. And at recess, I was the kid that took a book out to the playground because I was a huge queer. Like, I didn't like playing. If I played soccer, I was usually the cheerleader. So, but if that job was taken, I had my book. So,
that's great.
But then I was like, God damn it, I have to go read more. Like, it's not even a book I fucking want to read. Like,
the struggles.
But, no, I like though that. Okay, so it's like simple, just a sandwich. Do you have a favorite sandwich, like a PB&J or? I don't know.
They were sandwich. It was always my dad's homemade bread. Always, just the most delicious.
Oh my God, sounds amazing already.
But the thing is that once you have it day in day out, just like anything, you get used to it and you don't appreciate it. So I was like, well, I can trade my sandwich for this, for a slice of pizza. Oh my God, you have a hamburger or something? I don't know.
Right.
Like that.
That's so.
And
funny.
so I would jump on trading.
Traded. Oh my God, we weren't allowed. I don't think we were allowed to do that. Everything came out on trays, and like to trade your lunch, you'd have to trade everything. Like when nothing was wrapped. I don't know. Maybe it's different now, but when we went to school,
you brought your own stuff.
If you brought your own, you could trade. But I guess like I thought you were talking about people who got like hot lunches. Oh, they'd be like, I'll give you this. If I don't know, I did always. I kind of know what you're talking about on bread though, because my parents would always buy the like organic multi-grain bread. So I was like, I love Wonder Bread as an adult, and I think it's like. But at the same time, what I would have given to have homemade bread sandwich, that I mean, gosh. So okay, it's bread, and then was there any, like?
Yeah, it was bread, lettuce. It was either turkey or maybe even some pepperoni at some point. Turkey, pepperoni was the meat. I was never a big ham guy. So ham was definitely always out of the picture.
Yeah.
or chicken. Honestly, some chicken slices.
For
That's
sure.
fine too. So
That sounds
so that's what the sandwich would be, man. It would be the home cooked bread, the lettuce, the one of the lunch meats.
Mm.
Maybe some butter or some mayo, whatever I was into at the time. Tomato.
Ooh, not a big tomato guy. I'm not
Ooh,
really.
taste or texture.
It's mostly the texture,
Mm.
because I think tomatoes are like the most important staple food of any culture, because they're so, you can utilize them, except I mean
Everything.
maybe
Oh my God,
in everything. I
Yeah.
mean, even in Asian culture, there's certain things you can make with tomatoes. So like it's almost like corn to me. It's
Yeah.
like an absolutely necessary thing. But I grew up eating giant beef eater tomatoes that would go big
What are
watery.
those?
Those are the ones, they're like the size of your fist. They go on burgers. They're like the giant burger tomatoes.
Okay. Okay.
And but you have to grow them, because if you buy them, they're literally just like water in a
Flavorless.
fibrous gooey suspension. Like,
Mm.
yeah, there's no flavor. I do like heirloom tomatoes and like cherry tomatoes. I like the
Mhm.
grape tomatoes, because those just have flavor.
Right.
But that's funny though. I don't know a lot. I guess I never knew a lot of kids that would like willingly eat
Oh, I love them.
tomato.
Oh, I love tomato. So let me ask you this. So you like the taste of the tomato itself?
Yeah, it's yeah.
Mm.
It's interesting. I think I also grew up with tomatoes as an ingredient, not so much as like a condiment or like a food thing on their own. Because my granddad's family owned Italian restaurants when he was a kid, so tomatoes were sauce. That's
Mhm.
all he ever used them for.
Yeah.
Or if he would deep fry them. I do love fried green tomatoes.
Wow, I've
With
never had a deep fried tomato.
oh
No
fuck,
kidding.
they're good.
What?
He was from the South too. He's from like Southern Missouri, so that's not really the
That
South,
sounds
but
pretty
they make some
good.
meat. They're really good. They're underripe, so they're really sour. But when you deep fry them and you eat them with a sauce, sometimes it's remoulade, which is kind of like a French Thousand Islandy.
Mhm.
People are gonna fucking scorn me for saying that's what it tastes like, but it does. It's like a ketchupy, mayo-y, peppery sauce, but
Yes.
with fried sour tomatoes. So goddamn good. But
Wow.
yeah, no, and they would grow their own tomatoes too, so that's probably why I only liked that. But yeah, no, tomatoes were pasta sauce ingredients.
Mhm.
That's really all we thought of them as. And or the thing you ask to them to not put on your burger. It's like, no tomato,
No tomato,
extra
please.
mayo, extra ketchup. I think that's the thing. I love tomatoes because they're sweet. And it's like one of the few, like, it's a berry technically. And I think it's really fascinating how it can be used just in a wide range of different flavor profiles. And it's so, it's such a staple food to have around.
Mhm.
But on their own,
Yeah, could
they're,
pass.
I'm good. I'm good. But in an orgy of other vegetables, sure.
Absolutely. Throw them in there. Let's get them on in, dude.
Well, let me ask you this: did you have like a favorite junk food growing
Oh.
up?
It was either pizza or mozzarella sticks, hands down.
Nice. Okay. Solid. Very solid.
Yep. And I would get both. My bad influence for both was Garrett. Because that was what his diet consisted of, was pizza and mozzarella sticks. So
it's funny. I should talk to Garrett, because I was the bad influence on my friends, as you probably
there you
can
go.
already fucking see. Because anytime I come to a party, I either have a cake or fucking cheese and a plate.
dude, but
It's
we
like,
love
I
it.
brought a fucking
We love
cake.
we love it though.
I appreciate
good.
it, but yeah, no,
Cakes
I
and
was
stuff.
totally the guy that was like, should we have a
No one's telling you to change.
casserole?
No one's telling you to change.
I was like, let's order like a pepperoni lovers pizza with stuffed crust.
Yeah.
Did you like stuffed crust? Do you get that with
I am
mozza
a
sticks
guy
and
for it. Yes.
commit double homicide on your
Let's
colon
go.
like I do?
Yes.
That's what I do. Fuck. I know that's gonna be a night for me. It's like, well, I'm
If it's
done.
not a night, it's gonna be a morning for sure.
Don't talk to me until about 11 a.m. But
Yeah, straight up.
then I'm gonna need a precursor text. That's so funny that Garrett was a bad influence on your food.
That's
That's
bad
funny.
influence on my food, dude.
Well, okay. Well, that kind of goes in with this next question. So you and Garrett have been friends essentially since childhood then,
Mhm.
like childhood. best friends.
Mhm.
The next question was, what foods did you come to like as a teenager and adult? And I have a feeling Garrett has another pretty heavy hand on like, try this. This is very good. Like,
Well, not as much as you would think, because obviously as I've grown up, my taste palette, hopefully in my opinion, has evolved and matured. So, and I think that's to say the same as for Garrett's, but at the same time, I think that kind of branching out, you find your own things, you know. I remember not liking mushrooms as a kid, and now I fucking love mushrooms, dude.
really? Oh, I hate them. Oh,
really?
And they're, again, it's a flavor. I hate the texture. I feel like I'm eating a fungus, which is what they are.
Exactly.
But I appreciate what they do, and I love marsala. Like marsala sauce is heavily. I just don't eat the mushrooms with it. Just like make it with the mushrooms, but someone else can have my mushrooms. Yeah. Although stuffed mushrooms, I did try stuffed mushrooms, and that was like, I liked the stuffed part, which did have mushrooms in it. I will be fair, but I was like, my mom made them. They were good. I was like, I ate the whole thing. I was like, it's good. It's just, you know, it's just mushrooms are rubbery. But all the flavors are great. Like, you know, the taste is right, but I don't know. I feel like when I ate it, I probably looked like a baby. Like, oh God, like what is this? Like, why are you forcing me to? Yeah, no. That's funny though that you have come to like mushrooms. Do you have like a specific? Do you like mushroom burgers or kind of
anything?
Really? Okay.
I love mushroom burgers. Literally put mushrooms in anything, in eggs. Like throw some mushrooms on, dude. Yes.
Nice. Was there any other foods like any other foods as an adult that you've really been like, yeah, this is something I can get down with all the time? Like,
cheese.
Yes.
Cheese.
Fucking A. I just did Josh's episode and we had a whole section devoted to cheese.
Yes, dude.
Do you have like a favorite? His question was really good. Do you have a favorite snacking cheese?
I do. It's called Kefalograviera.
Oh, fuck. Oh, wow. I love that you can just say it too. Because like I have trouble saying like Terra Musalata without sounding like a dumb American. Like, do you have some Terra Musalata? Like, yeah, no. I have to say I'm the worst at pronouncing. Okay, can you say it slowly and then?
Yes, I can. Kefalograviera cheese.
Okay.
And is a popular Greek cheese made from sheep's and goat's milk. It's a good source of protein and relatively low in fat. It's a hard yellow cheese with a salty, nutty, piquant flavor. It should be firm but smooth to the touch, and it has a rich aroma and smooth mouthfeel. The rind is light brown and edible, and the cheese is marked with little air holes throughout its body. It falls somewhere between salty, kefalotiri, and mellow graviera cheese, hence its name.
Nice.
That's definitely my favorite snacking cheese because my dad's still here in the U.S. and we're living together, and so he frequents these Greek markets weekly, and so we have just slices of it in the fridge, and you'll find me walking over to the fridge, just all hours, honestly, even as soon as I wake up, because it's a good breakfast cheese, it's a good afternoon cheese, it's a good dinner cheese. It's delicious. Sure. So that's currently my favorite snacking cheese.
Do you like that? I'll have to try it because it sounds really good. Do you like halloumi?
I do. Well, yes, I do, but not in massive quantities.
Well, yeah, it's very salty.
It gives me, after a while, like that squeakiness, then it literally squeaks on your teeth.
It does, yeah, because it doesn't melt. Yeah, because I like it grilled. I've had grilled halloumi with eggplant, and I think that's fucking delicious. With like balsamic vinegar on the top of it. Fuck my ass. It's so good.
That sounds so good. Oh.
I had it in like I want to say it was like a street market when I went to Epcot once, because it was like World Showcase, but it was the food. It was like the food culture festival, food and wine thing.
Okay.
And they had a huge Greek stand, and that was the cheapest thing, was halloumi with eggplant. It was like $5, and it was so good. And I remember hearing about halloumi on a cooking show because the cook literally just grills it and it doesn't melt. And I was like, that's very intense for a cheese to like. But yeah. But no, I'll have to try the one you mentioned because that it kind of sound kind of like they might be in the same family of like a nutty, sharp, salty cheese. I love Greek cheese just because the saltiness. It's
Oh
not like
God. Yep.
it's not like salty. It's like there's so many different flavors and like I love feta cheese. That's my favorite Greek cheese,
Yes.
obviously. But it's just got so many different things. And again, another cheese that goes well with many different kinds of food because I use feta with Mexican food. I think cotija and feta kind of share. They're like kind of kissing cousins of another.
Mm-hmm.
So I like kind of use those interchangeably. But
Absolutely.
oh man, my favorite snacking cheese, and I've said this before, is Gouda. I love Gouda cheese because it just tastes like bacon. Like, you know,
So good.
like at the
So
deli.
good.
Can I have 2 pounds of the smoked Gouda slice? 2 pounds? Yes.
Yeah, you heard me correctly.
Yeah, bitch, do it. I pulled a fucking number. No, they're very nice. I love my deli people. And it's funny, they know what I want, and but back before COVID, they let me try stuff all the time. They'd be like, "Do you want to try the new pepper jack we have?" And I'd be like,
Absolutely.
"Fuck me, yes!" Like, it's like that's the biggest thing at the grocery store I miss.
Cheese sampling.
I can't try cheese anymore at the deli or meat. Actually, that's a great way too. I feel like to learn meats is to just try them at a deli because usually they're super nice about it. I mean, obviously, don't make a meal of it, everyone out there,
Right.
but like,
And,
but you
like,
know, hey,
having 6 people behind you. Oh, and now I want to try this one.
yeah, it's like,
Come on.
come on. But usually they'll offer you before they give it to you to see it,
Mhm.
make sure you want it, which is very
True.
nice.
True.
So the next question we've really talked about this whole time, which is about like how ethnicity and cultural background influences the food you eat. Obviously, I mean, I feel like I asked that question of a lot of our friends because I honestly feel like growing up in Midwestern America, we kind of have our own weird food culture that negates like one specific country or region. It's like a weird mishmash of all these different things. Because like in Nebraska, we have a lot of Czech food because a lot of Czech people emigrated there.
Wow.
Yeah. We have there's a Czech festival every year too, and there's a Czech.
Did not know that.
Yeah, the girl I went to high school with was Czech Queen. she was reigned Czech Queen that year.
Oh my God! Imagine.
Her name's Catherine Dvorak. She's a very talented actress in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
shout out. Yeah,
Czech Queen
but
made it, dude.
she made it. But no, it's so cool. It's like it's cool that we have that, but at the same time, it's like you don't really see it come out in food all the time. So I really think it's interesting that you experience the flip side of that, which is you really ate your cultural heritage food all the time. And were there any like German foods that you really enjoy? Because I know we've talked a little bit about German cuisine too, just like in person, but
I will say the staple that my mom, if she was gonna cook some food, it'd be hold on, give me a second. Bratwurst and Kartoffeln.
okay.
I think brats and potatoes, just straight up.
Yeah. It's Kartoffel. It's Kartoffel salad.
Sorry.
I did a whole before I went to Germany, I read like 2 books on German food. So
Damn.
I love fucking
Nice.
Oh my God, I can roll with German food all day. Meat and potatoes.
Meat, right, exactly. And then if every so often, I think maybe my Oma would make a schnitzel or something like.
Nice.
But that pretty basic, pretty.
Yeah.
The Greek just it's all Greek.
I mean, it's. I can understand it though, and I feel like that's just kind of from a, socio-historical perspective. I feel like Greek food really broke a lot of barriers down as far as like, how to utilize ingredients in a specific way. I mean, that food culture touches on so many different countries in that area, especially in the Mediterranean. I mean, people don't realize, Greece was more than just like the first like city-state type of thing. It's not just a historical landmark, but culinarily speaking, if that's culinarily is a word, I feel like Greece also led that charge for a long time as far as Mediterranean cooking. Because I can read cookbooks all day, but it's like it's all the time. I'm like, a lot of these flavors came out of Greece. Like these different combinations and regions just took it and did what with it what they had. But I think that's a super super interesting thing just about like your background, because I've never met someone who grew up eating really within their own family's culture. That's such a literally a foreign concept
right?
to me. So I guess like I'll ask the second part, which is how does all of that sort of play a role today with you, like in how you eat? Do you still really find yourself wanting to eat Greek food all the time, or do you really like to sort of experiment with everything and be like, what, I love this food, but there's so much else out there. How do you sort of strike that balance?
It's definitely more so the latter of what you said.
Sure.
I have such an appreciation and a love for the Greek cuisine and the food that I've been raised with, but that has also made me realize that, and just living and experiencing the other types of food that I has made me realize that what you said exactly is that there is so much more out there, and the fact that I have grown into liking new things has made me open to the fact that I may like new things in the future even than right now, that it's possible that my palate will evolve even more. So all that I think just makes me very, very open and hopeful that I'll get to try everything, even though it's not realistic. But
right. I mean, I feel like it is kind of crazy, and I talked with Derek about this too, where going to a grocery store or a market now is so much more diverse than when I was growing up.
There's so many options. It's like
God. And it's crazy too, because I really think it's sort of like, I think it's like that beauty is in the eye of the beholder thing. But to me, seeing foreign vegetables and fruit, that is sort of a like, what can I do with that? That looks interesting.
I remember the first time I saw dragon fruit, I was like, what is this? Like all those weird, just
oh my God.
different.
I have a really funny story about dragon fruit. When I was in high school, they had like a fruit program. I was the main member. No, just kidding. No, we had a fruit program where kids like who didn't, I think who were like on the SNAP program could get a piece of fruit before they went to class every day. And usually it was, traditional apples, bananas, oranges. One day they brought in dragon fruit and no one knew how in the hell to eat it.
I believe that.
On the class announcements, they're like, to eat your dragon fruit, this is how you do it. And I'm like, is the principal seriously telling me how to eat fruit right now? Like, this is the most education I've ever received. No, like, I'm kidding. Well, I remember seeing the teacher was like, really? Words? Really? Just like, oh my God. Look it up. Like, we're a school. Like, we have computers. Like, it was so funny. That's dragon fruit. And to this day, I still think I don't really know how to prepare it myself. It's just there. So it's like, ooh, dragon fruit. But
I have no idea I have no idea about that fruit.
For me, it's peppers. I always love seeing different peppers. And it's like, oh, I've never had this kind before. I wonder, what, this will do to my insides type of thing. Let's see how much heartburn I can have. But no, I think it's interesting though that like nowadays grocery stores are just so much more worldly than all I remember of a grocery store growing up is just like boxed food and beef, like a meat section, a bakery, and then like like there was one ethnic aisle and it was like all the Mexican food in 1/3, all the Asian food in another third, and then like all the kosher food. That was like the only other cultures that existed in Nebraska were Mexico, China, and Israel. So it's like the Jewish family. So it's like, okay, never mind, this huge, I feel like there was a massive influx of like Southeast Asian cuisine in our generation, because it's just,
exploding.
It is. Yeah. And that's like the one type of food so many of my friends have tried. That's like their first foreign cuisine is Thai food, Vietnamese food, maybe even Japanese food like sushi, which, I mean, that's not Southeast Asian, but I don't know. I just think that it's kind of interesting that, I feel like you kind of, to me, had kind of the ideal culinary childhood, which is you got to eat food that was of your culture and it was made every day by hand and all that stuff. And, for me, it's like I had tuna helper And but at the same time, I think it's interesting because that's what inspired me to want to cook, which was to quit eating food like that and to have something different.
Mhm.
But do you cook a lot, really, or
When I mean, when I have the time, sure.
sure, yeah,
Like everyone, if we have the time, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
But if there's no, that's the thing. Most of these Greek dishes require some prep work, right? So if you don't have the time to do it, you're not going to be doing it.
it's I definitely love Greek food for its fanfare because it is like a pull out all the stops type of cuisine.
Mhm.
And I mean, I for me it's like, when am I gonna make a lamb? That's
Right.
like that's
Right.
a lot of work, and it's expensive, and you want to make sure that there's everyone there to enjoy it because it's meant for that. It's not. I feel like Greek food is not the cooking for one.
Definitely not.
cuisine.
Exactly. I was going to say, you can't make I'm not going to make a single serving of, right, the moussaka and be like, oh yes, I made
Yeah,
my
no.
that's perfect. No.
Exactly. It's like who yeah, no. And for me it's the other thing too of how I love how Greek fast food in America has really tried to push that idea that it's like, this is just for you, but I'm like, it is still a fuckload of food. Like,
Oh yeah.
getting a gyro or any kind of kebabs, anything. It's like I could share this with someone and still be full.
Portions are good. Portions
I
are
love
good
it.
on those types of
I love
restaurants.
it.
It's true.
Yeah. That was my first Greek anything was a gyro,
A gyro?
which yeah, and I mean I know that's super common, but that's really all we had. I feel like, but
So the next step, Wes, is for you to come to Greece and to try an authentic Greek gyro.
Yes,
because I
please.
can tell you that the gyros here are nothing like the gyros in
oh
Greece.
no,
No.
no, I'm sure they're not.
No,
That's like
no.
how when I tried to think about what a doner kebab would taste like, and then I actually had one in Germany, and I was like, fuck, this is blowing my mind. I can only imagine. I feel like it'd be like going to Japan and having real sushi. Although
I would say that's
I shouldn't say that because the sushi restaurant I go to, they are from Japan. So but anyway, no, I definitely think that's definitely something. Greece is like a bucket list place to visit for me. I mean, never mind the multitude of museums there where I could
geez.
just live. I'm a total museum whore. So
Then,
I would.
That's where
oh
you'll
my
be
God.
living during your time there, because there are literally so many museums.
Oh my God. And just seeing architecture and food markets, all that stuff. I would probably need about at least 2 weeks to really fully.
Oh yeah. I'm
take in
picturing it now. Me, you, and Dylan walking through the markets. Oh yeah.
Dude,
you
oh my God.
inquiring about certain things, and then me, fully expressing in the Greek language to them what you're about and what
Open
you'd like.
air markets are the best. Germany's the only European country that I've been to, besides England, which really isn't Europe, but that's England. But oh my God, I love an open air market, and there's
Something about it, right?
It's honestly, I think it's just the feeling of it is the true farm to table movement, because usually these are farmers or sons or family of farmers that are selling this, and it's good. It's like farmers markets here are starting to come close now, which is making me happy, but at least in Chicago. But no, I mean, and then there's also other stuff. There was a guy that was selling Turkish coffee, and then there was a record, a mini record store there, and it's just why can't we shop like this in America? God, it's so
Such a
cool.
good ambiance, everything about it. The environment,
and there's
vibes,
a guy playing music. You throw your change at him. You're like, I probably look American as fuck right now, and I totally did. I was the worst tourist. I am my thing is if you're in a foreign country, just smile a lot. So Midwestern. Just smile. People will just be forgiving of you that you're a dumb American. No. Germany was okay. At least I understood some of the language. Greek, ooh. Is that the main language, or is there a huge multitude of different stuff spoken? No,
there's only Greek.
Okay.
There's only Greek, but there are dialects.
Sure, yeah.
There are dialects, geographic dialects, obviously.
Yeah.
but no other language.
Do you have a place that you would recommend for like a first time traveler to Greece? Because I mean, there's lots of places that are like amped up and are like, destination vacation, but I feel like if someone really wants to go just to get like the history or the cultural perspective, is there like a city that really sort of would be a best bet to go to in your opinion?
A combination of Athens
Mm-hmm.
and then, I'm biased, but the island of Kefalonia, which is on the west coast, on the Ionian Sea. And that is because Kefalonia, in my opinion, and many others who have come to visit, believe that it's kind of this untouched gem
Okay.
still.
Still.
Because
If
there
those
is
exist
still
in 2020.
there's so much, exactly right, those exist in 2020. I think Kefalonia is one of those because it has so much history, so much natural beauty, with the combination of, if you want to party, if you want to have some nightlife,
Yeah.
it's just the perfect balance of everything, and it's big. So you need you won't be able to do it all in 24 hours.
Right.
So there's a lot, and it takes some time. But if you put the time into it, it's very rewarding.
Yeah. Gosh, it's totally one of those. I mean, I feel like that's one of those places where, nerdy kids always want to go because it's the first thing you learn about in the history of
The
civilization.
mythology, absolutely,
And mythology, oh my God.
Yeah, history, mythology,
Everything,
for sure.
and it's such a massive influence on just like imagery and symbolism and and then in English too, all your archetypes come from Greece, all that kind of stuff, all of that sort of critique of it knowing Greek mythology definitely has a huge hand in literature. And it's kind of, so to me, Greece is like the ultimate cultural like experience. I don't know, because it's just like this is like a root place of the
whole
world.
package. It's the whole package.
It's like that in Africa. It's like Greece is where, we have found the evidence of advanced civilization in the past. And it's like, I don't know, it's just so crazy. And I've always wanted to go, but I've always wondered too, it's like, where do I go? Because Pinterest tells me to go to all of these resort cities, and TripAdvisor is like give and take, because you get the people that do know where to go, and then you get the people that really don't know where to go, all being like, everything's 5 stars, and it's like, oh God, like I don't know, but that's
there's the beauty of it, I think, is that you can have both. You're able, if you're looking for a 5-star resort experience, which from what you said is not what you're looking for, you can totally have that. Those places exist on Mykonos, on Santorini. These are the islands that have just exploded with westernized culture, right? That are just so, oh God, overpopulated, over everything. But what I'm talking about, this untouched gem thing, on the other side, on the west, because that's on the east, that's in the Aegean Sea.
Yes.
Kefalonia hasn't been overly media blown, hyped up. It's not, the party island or whatever. It's those locations that you want to go to for those, for those untouched, unique experiences.
Really see like what that part of the earth has to
100%.
offer. Yeah, 100%. Which is what I love. I mean, I think it's funny because like me as a tourist, I really like to try to have both. Of like, I want to go to museums, I want to do some touristy stuff because there's a reason it's there, obviously. And then there's other things too, where it's like, I want to also try to do all these other things where I know that most of the time Americans don't go there or like don't vacation there. It's like, I really want to go to Mexico City, not Cancun. Like, maybe when I'm an old gay man, I'll go to Cancun and, I can wear my Speedo and be 50. But nowadays...
What are the reasons, just out of curiosity, what are the reasons you want to go to the city as opposed to Cancun?
Mostly because I want it to be
food,
immersive.
number one.
I guess. What?
Food is obviously on that list.
Food is on the list. But also, I grew up... My grandmother loved Mexican culture. I grew up reading Mexican culture, about it, listening to a lot of Mexican American music, Mexican pop music, just Spanish pop music in general. And So I have like a weird link to that culture mostly through music. And so I would love to go to Mexico and, see music culture there. And I feel like, going to Cancun and hearing the house mariachi band at,
Right. Yeah. No.
San Boca Flota, it's not my ideal of that. I really want to go to Monterrey too. And I'd love to visit there and see the mountains and all that stuff too.
Mhm.
I don't know. And also just speak the language because like I can speak Spanish. So it's like I'd love to really sort of try my hand at
Yeah.
and I really learned from Mexican people how to speak and Texans. So it's like,
Texans.
so it's a lot harsher. But like I don't know. I feel like it'd be a really cool experience just to see the terrain and
Mhm.
the architecture, all that kind of stuff. Very Catholic, very like Catholic influenced architecture, which I think I grew up Catholic, so I think that stuff is like Mexican Catholicism is such its own culture, and I'm really interested in seeing it. So Mexico's like an everything but food, I guess, because I don't know the food I've had, but it's not what I obsess over. Greece, I'd be like, let's go eat. Let's just eat our way through the country. Like
That's what we pretty much do, to be honest. We gained a lot of weight when we were there.
Hey, I mean, it's all good. I feel like that's not a bad thing. I mean, traveling and eating all sorts of stuff. I feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
See how the Coke tastes in different countries. Do you ever do that? Do you ever see how Coca-Cola is in
There's
different
a difference.
places?
There is a difference.
Oh my God, Mexican Coca-Cola is the best because they use real sugar.
In a bottle, a cold Mexican Coke in a bottle, dude, you cannot beat that.
You have to. Yeah, no, it's the best, and you have to buy, like grocery stores have Coke in glass bottles, but you have to buy the one. Coke. You have to go to the ethnic aisle, those of you listening, and buy the one that says Coca-Cola Clásico. If it says Clásico, that is sugar. If it's classic, original taste, that has high fructose corn syrup. Like, and it's not the real thing.
We don't want it. No, get it out.
You can't beat the real thing, which is the Mexican slogan for Coca-Cola, which I think is so funny because American Coke isn't the real thing.
It's not. It's
I don't know. McDonald's Coke is still my number one.
So good too. So good.
They just add extra sugar, apparently. I just imagine like a manager just dumping like a bag of sugar into like the vending spout. I don't know.
So 30 grams. Here we go.
Jesus. So my last question, which I asked everyone, it's like the clickbait question. What are your top 5 food loves and your top 5 food hates? And these can be anything from like a specific food stuff or like, a meal or just a genre of food in particular that you might really like or not like. Really anything relating to food that you love or hate. Top 5 of each.
All right, let's start with the top ones, the top 5.
Top 5. Okay, loves.
Top 5.
Top food loves.
Flavor.
Yes. That
top 5.
Oh my gosh! Thank you. Yes, that is a great. Yes, that's perfect. I love that.
If what I'm eating does not have good flavor, it's not gonna work for me. I'm gonna have to say thank you next.
Ariana Grande not sponsored.
Yeah, no, not sponsored. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I have to. I'm also a quantity guy. I like being able to eat my flavorful food and a lot of it.
This is why you and I are friends, Dimitri.
Quantity, yes. When I come to your place and you've cooked for me, you know that I will be eating at least 2 or 3 plates of whatever's there.
You and Harvey once came over and I was like, you guys were ravenous. And I was like, and Matt was like, we didn't eat all day. And I was like, why did you not eat all day? He's like, you're cooking. I was like, hey, I mean, I suppose that's a huge compliment if like, we're going over someone's house. Well, even like anyone, I mean, not just, I don't want to take all the credit for everyone, but like, even like if I'm going over to my aunt's house, it's like, I can't eat today. Like, right. She's going to have everything. Yeah, no, but I do appreciate that a lot. That does warm my heart a ton when people are like, oh, we're not fucking eating. Like, we're coming over to your house. We're coming over to your house, smoking a
yeah.
bowl,
Oh yeah.
and
And
chowing
gorging.
down.
Chowing down.
I love that you
So,
say
yeah.
quantity too, because I feel like that's something where no one wants to admit that. No one
Yeah.
will admit they'll go back for seconds, thirds, fourths, go back to the fridge at 6 o'clock in the morning and eat it cold. Like,
It's
4
tough to
o'clock in the
admit it,
morning.
but like, fuck it.
We
I do
all
it, dude.
fucking do it. Yeah. And it's good though, because I feel like it's a thing where, you know, especially if you're around your friends and it's a good time, why the hell not? Like,
Right.
no one's judging your figure. And
Exactly.
like, it's like when I make a cake and everyone's like, I don't want it. I'm like, no, you're eating the cake.
Yep.
Like, eat it.
Eat the cake.
Eat it.
Shove it
I
in your
fucking
mouth.
baked a cake. Ah! Force feed everyone.
All right, let's see. We got flavor. We got quantity.
Quantity, yeah.
I like spice. I like spice. So
Sure.
I would say spice was going to be on the top 5 there.
Nice.
Flavor, quantity, spice. Get some spice. And
Can I ask you? Sorry. I know you were like mid thought.
okay.
Is there a specific spice that you like more than the other? Like, because, you know, Tex-Mex spice is very blunt. Asian
Yeah, no,
spice
that's a
is
fair
very
question.
eye-watering. Like, I kind of like it all, but I mean, is there one where you're like, this I know is gonna like rip me open, and I'm gonna love every second of it?
And thank you for asking that, because it made me realize how unclear my word of spice was, because it was just it was unclear.
Oh, did you?
I meant heat, like spicy. I'm sorry,
Oh yeah. That's what I thought
meant.
you meant. Yeah, for sure.
But specifically, what spice? Oh geez, I'm not that well versed, unfortunately, Wes. I couldn't tell you. I just like there to be some heat.
Got it, for sure. I think that's nice in any dish if there's like even in like marinara sauce.
Yeah.
That's a sweet sauce, but if there's just a teeny bit of like burn
Mhm.
there, it
Yep.
makes all the difference in the world.
Exactly, and that's
It's like
what I love.
adding coffee to chocolate in that way.
Yes. Which
Or
is interesting,
chocolate
honestly,
to coffee.
because most of the Greek cuisine that I grew up with does not have any spice at all. Actually, none of it does.
That's
It's all
true. Now that I
very,
think
very
about it.
not spicy food at all.
Right.
So it's interesting that I've grown to like that, quite a bit.
Sure.
Next, I would probably say it probably has to be some good ingredients. It's got to be some good, like some healthy food.
Mhm.
Like as much as we all like having our once a week Wendy's 20-piece chicken nugget splurge.
Baconator extra cheese is me.
Dude, all right. On Friday, I got a 20-piece chicken nugget, 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers, 2 medium fries, and ate it all in 20 minutes.
Dude.
Dude, I ate like a motherfucking
that's like a
pig.
king's feast. That's like going to Taco Bell and oh my god, I went to Taco Bell the other night. What I get at Taco Bell is like $15. It's like
Hell
the
yeah, that's a lot of Taco Bell.
well, it's Nacho Bel Grande food combo with the Dorito Loco Taco Supreme, and then I get
I haven't had that yet.
That's so don't get the Cool Ranch because I hate it. No, I don't care if you like Cool Ranch Doritos, you'll like it. But the Doritos Locos Taco is very good. It's
Do they do the
eating.
sweet chili Doritos too?
I don't know. That might
'Cause those
be.
are the best Doritos in my opinion.
I've never had those. Dylan buys Cool Ranch, and I literally won't kiss him after he eats them. I hate Cool Ranch Doritos so much.
That's hilarious. Babe, have you eaten Cool Ranch? Yeah, no, get the fuck away from my mouth.
Literally, it's like you smell like Cool Ranch. Like,
yeah, they're pretty very strong. Yeah.
I mean, they all are, but no. So I get the nachos combo with the taco, and then I get like I don't know, is it the Gordita Crunch? It's like this taco with nacho cheese, and then it's a taco on the inside.
Is it the cheesy Gordita Crunch?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think that.
So all that is like
sounds
$15
That
at
sounds
my Taco Bell.
amazing.
Yeah. So I was behind a guy, and I knew it was just him in the car, and he was like, his eyes were just so stony, and I was like, oh, we're all here for each
One
other.
of us. One of us.
He went through, his order was $54. And I was like, I'm praying that he's ordering for a group of people.
Wow.
But it didn't look like it because I saw his order and it was one drink and a shitload of food. I was like, and it was like it was all like meal and then individual items. And I was like, This guy is like me times 4. Like, and like like you can see them in the reflector window. He's like tiny. He was like this little guy in his car, and I'm like, no way, no goddamn way.
Dude,
And then
honestly,
I
was
come
he was like
up.
some giant man. Like,
No, he was a little
what?
dude, little dude. I don't know. Kudos to that guy for ordering. Anyways, though, the Wendy's. So 20 McNuggets, 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers. Those are like 1 patty, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
They're not that bad.
That's just like a double cheeseburger together.
Yeah.
And then, do you like their fries? Do you like Wendy's fries?
Yeah, I do.
They're like, nah, to me. I like
McDonald's fries over them, but I get Wendy's for the nuggets and the burger. So the fries being what they are, it doesn't throw me off.
They do have really good chicken nuggets too. Very underrated chicken.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I went ham. But even to come full circle back to what we were saying, even though we all like splurging on that junk food,
yes,
the core has to I have to feel good about eating it. Like I can't, if you were to eat that every single day, you would just feel like shit. You would just feel like shit. And like, so you can't feel like shit after you eat. So it has to be, somewhat, you have to know that it's somewhat good for you.
Yeah. And I think there is sort of a brain satisfaction eating healthy food. 'Cause I feel like that's when your brain's like, okay, this is stuff that we like need. These are nutrients you're eating, it's not just like junk food. So I always feel like healthy food, as much as people, I think sometimes try to avoid it, it really does pay off as far as like mental health and stomach health and all that stuff. So I think that's a great point, like having, and also just good ingredients. That's a huge part of it too. Just knowing where you're
exactly knowing where it comes from and just knowing exactly what you're putting into the food. Those are huge. I think, was that 4 or was that 5? I don't.
That's 4. You have 1 more.
Shit. Oh man. Shit. Let's do some negatives and then maybe I'll come up with
yeah, for sure. Positives. Okay, so some things, some food that you hate.
Some food that I hate. Now, if I can't taste my food because of how spicy it is, I hate it. Then it's not even. I can't even. Then I'm not even. Then I can't even.
What's the point? What's the point of just setting yourself on fire? Like,
do it.
I totally get that.
There was a food when I was first being exposed to Thai food was definitely in college. My buddy, my roommate actually, his name was Casey. He's from New York. He's from the East Coast, so he probably had a whole more exposure to that type of food maybe than I did for sure. But he was always pushing, hey man, let's go get some Thai food. Let's go do this and this and this. And I'm like, sure, okay. Yeah. I remember we got Thai food from this one place, and he got, I actually don't even remember what specific dish it was, but it was the flat noodles. It was the flat noodles, and there might have been some pork in there. Anyways, but he got like the hottest level, hotter than, he was like, give me like spicier than Thai hot, please. Like he called him up and he was like, yo, I know what you're about. Give me extreme.
Okay, that's the thing. Everyone assumes that they dumb the heat down in Thai restaurant. They don't. It's so funny. I've heard so many similar stories. Like, I know they're just making it less because I'm white. I'm like, they're really not. Because they know that white people like spicy food. Okay, so he got like the hottest.
He got the hottest, and he was like, "Oh, give it a try." I was content eating mine. It was delicious. It was perfect.
Yeah.
He's like, "Give mine a try. Just one of the bite." And he was successfully eating it, dude. He was going to town on it, which was very impressive because this guy was a tiny little white guy.
That's interesting you say that because there's a lot of stuff I've read about how spicy food triggers this sort of addictive response in the brain. So you have to eat it quickly because your body will start craving that. It doesn't crave like the pain part of it afterwards. It craves that initial just like kind of like heat on the taste bud.
I've felt that crave. Have you felt the crave? I've felt that.
God,
you can't stop eating the spicy thing. Yeah, it's true.
If I get like pho and I put too much sriracha in it or something, oh my God, I'm drinking the broth at that point.
Kind of weird because you're aware. You're like, oh my God.
Well, and I it's not the same thing as like, drinking where it's like you're anticipating it and you're like, your brain will kind of ease into it. This is your brain like, okay, like fuck, like
Yeah.
but it like wants more of it at the same time, and it,
It's a
you know, it
weird
does also.
phenomenon.
Spicy food's good for you too. I mean, it stimulates your gut, and it wakes you up. A lot of people say that if you are really tired, to eat spicy food, or like literally like put dashes of hot sauce in your mouth, because it'll like kind of jolt you awake better than caffeine.
For sure.
And it does.
With some wasabi.
Oh my God, my mother used to use wasabi to clear out our sinuses. Like if I was sneezing a ton.
Yeah, but
yes,
is it painful?
If I was sneezing a bunch, my mom would go get the little like, you know, toothpaste tube wasabi out of the fridge and get a spoon. Be like, come here, and she'd put a glob of it. I mean, I knew it was coming every time when she would be like, come on. And it wasn't the smell, but it would be like one bite of it. And it's like a horseradish is an actual horse, and he's kicking you in the face.
Kicking you in the face.
I love it though. I mean, I do that now. I eat wasabi because I kind of crave that, like, woo, you know, like.
Right.
And my voice goes an octave deeper for 7-8 seconds. It's very gratifying. But no, wasabi was that was a standard in my house. But I do get what you're saying, though, to go back about spicy food that is just pure heat. It's just like there's no salt. I literally like can't savor it. It's just like I'm also in excruciating pain if that's the case too, because like this isn't enjoyable.
Ruined. It's like, well, this is fucked. This is scuffed. Just over.
Yeah, not only that, but you're like, what is gonna happen tomorrow when like
coming out?
I'm literally gonna have fiery poops. Like that's like the worst part of it too, because you're like, oh my God, like I'm gonna cry even more. Sorry. Okay, so food that's too spicy.
That's definitely up there. Then, if I can taste, so let's this is going to be pretty specific. Blood in. I can't do medium steaks.
Really
can't. It's got. I don't know, man. Maybe like a little bit. If someone's like, dude, if someone's like, yo, this guy's the best steak cooker, like you have to, there'll be a little bit of pink, like just try it. Like I'll try, sure, I'll eat it. But like, that's a real big turnoff for me is blood in steaks.
Oh man, it's so fucking good though. Okay, so I get it though. I totally understand, because I don't like blood sausage, because I know what's fucking in it. I know. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story. Speaking of blood, and hopefully you don't get sick, like, because I can't handle the sight of blood. But this isn't like a gross, gruesome story. This is funny. So my old chef, assistant chef at the restaurant I worked at before COVID, he worked at another kitchen before, and they had blood sausage on the menu, and they had two prep kitchens. One was in the basement, and one was like on the main floor. Mm-hmm. And I guess the guy making the blood sausage, he lost his balance and tipped the entire bucket of blood, pig's blood, onto himself. And he walked up into the next kitchen, and he looked like he had committed the most heinous murder.
Oh my!
And my prep chef was like, "What the fuck happened to you?" Like, but he's like, "We heard it."
Blood.
He's like, "Everyone stay quiet." He's like, "We heard." Like, "Oh no!" Like, and everyone. He's like, "We were all just dead fucking quiet." Like, and I'm like, how, one, gross, and two, that's not good, because that's like your entire stock of that for the day is just gone. Like, but it's like, it was just such a gross story. Dude. But I get that. With steak, I like it. Well, if I'm at a steakhouse, I'll get it medium rare. But I'm inept at cooking steaks, so I char it on the outside, and then it's like bright red on the inside. So I like that, and then doused with like fucking béarnaise sauce or some butter sauce. That's really good. So do you order a steak like medium well?
I do.
Okay, that's okay, as long as you're not ordering it well.
Nope.
Although I
No,
shouldn't
no,
discriminate because I get it. I ordered wild steaks till I was like 22 because I didn't know. I didn't know that you could. There was a
okay.
different flavor
Shit.
because the flavor's completely different, ranging that way up.
For sure.
But okay, so blood. We're on to number 3 now.
Shellfish.
Food. Really? Oh, really? You're not allergic, are you?
No, not allergic.
Just
I
not
can
so
do
careful.
if it's a deliciously made coconut shrimp, I'm all about it. But
Sure.
if we move into lobster, any type of lobster, nope, not for me.
Oh my god.
Crab,
Love it.
and then if we move into the oyster, the
no.
scallops and the mussels, also no.
Okay, I love mussels. I like mussels in like a white wine sauce. I like scallops. I do not like oysters. Were we at number 3?
I think that was 3. Yes.
Okay.
What was first?
Too spicy.
Too spicy.
And then shit.
Blood and steak.
Blood. Yep.
And 3 is the shellfish.
Shellfish. Huh, man. That's although I get it because a lot of people really, are like they eat weird things, and they're not always farmed. What's the word? They're not always farmed. There's really no way, I think, to correctly farm fish. I don't know. Prove me wrong, someone. But
right.
To me, I can get it can be questionable totally where that stuff comes from, and that's, for someone who is mindful of it, I would totally be like, shellfish may not be the best thing to eat. I don't know. We grew up on surf and turf at my house on Saturday night surf and turf, so I love scrimps. So shrimp mostly is my favorite, but I do love. I like that sort of salty, briny, fishy taste too, but not for everyone. Dylan hates fish.
There you go.
If I cook fish, I have to do it while he's out of the room because he'll be like, God, what are you cooking? Just fish for my salad. Dare I open a can of tuna? Or Nick with his fucking sardines.
See, I like sardines, man.
Really?
I can do sardines.
I like fried sardines. I don't like them right out of the can.
Anchovies, probably not.
Oh, I love anchovies.
Yeah, okay.
They're the bacon of the sea.
I like that. Still
they have a smoky. I don't know. I can't eat them on pizza anymore. That got just too much. Because really, that's when they are like hairy little fish on your stuff. But if you buy good anchovies on your pizza, but if you buy good ones, I make a sauce. It's like a cherry tomato anchovy sauce, but they're so salty. They're great for pasta. I love anchovies with pasta. Although they do kind of taste a little mushroomy now that I think about it too, which is interesting. Okay, so we're on to number 4.
Man, oh man. Shit, dude. This is even tougher than the one I said come back to.
Are there? Well, you already. We can count mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms. What was the one that was there a vegetable that you didn't like, or one that you just, or did you mention anything, or am I casting that on you?
I don't think I dislike any vegetable. To be honest with you.
Okay. Even broccoli? You like broccoli?
Love it. Love broccoli. Love cauliflower. Love spinach.
I like cauliflower. Do you like kale?
Almost every day. I do like kale. Kale salad,
like
delicious. Kale. I think you've made me a kale salad actually.
I made a kale chicken salad.
That was so fucking good.
It was a Greek one too, because it was like a yogurt dressing and it had chickpeas and.
So I kid you not, I was trying to because this obviously I knew this was today, and so I was thinking of just previous dishes because I thought that was going to be one of the questions of which dishes specifically that you had made I enjoyed, and I remembered that and I didn't remember if it was kale or not, but now that you say that salad was. And it was chicken. You put chicken in there too.
It was I roasted chicken with I have just a generic bottle of Greek seasoning, whatever the fuck that is. I don't know what. It's just a lot of stuff in a bottle.
I've seen it.
Yeah, so I marinated that and then I baked the chicken, and then I just it was thighs too, so thighs always come out good. And then it was just a yogurt sauce with lemon juice and olive oil and
good, man.
With kale and chickpeas, and I want to say I threw something else in there too, maybe like cranberries or something.
Yes, there was.
Yeah, no,
it
was pomegranate seeds.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
pomegranate seeds.
Oh,
Because I was like, it was kind of like Greek food with like a Lebanese twist on everything. Because I put pomegranate seeds in the hummus too. Hummus is like my go-to thing to make for a party because it's so easy and it goes every time. Like with our group, my God, the hummus craze.
we destroy it. Oh God.
I like Asian.
Your salad was to die for. So
that was totally like. I kind of made that one up as I went too, because I really only looked up the dressing because I was like, but I knew I wanted something that was Greek inspired just because it's great to feed a lot of people pretty much. And that salad was gone. And I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I had more than 3 servings on that one. Anyways, but this made me think of the last positive one is fresh.
Yes.
Freshness. There's just something you just know, right? When you're about to eat a fresh meal versus a not fresh meal, you know. And it just makes the experience so much better.
And it ranges too. I mean, a lot of people will think freshness, or may think freshness of like, freshness of produce, freshness of ingredients. I think of it as like, how old is this bread? How old is this pastry?
It can go, yeah.
My focus is on the baked goods mostly, but it's like, it totally runs that gamut of like, there is a use for everything in the kitchen, but something that's just undeniably like there that day, fresh. It is definitely one of those things where it's just so satisfying. And, then with things that aren't fresh, I like to turn all that stuff into stuff that is like soup, stew, anything, there's such a use for that kind of stuff too, that isn't fresh anymore. And there's such a beauty in people who can cook and turn that into something new. I'm actually not very good at that because I like to eat what it was intended for a lot of the time. But
I think most of us do, right?
Yeah.
I think most people do. But
some people are geniuses though with like repurposing food that it's been in the fridge and whatnot.
True.
But no, freshness I really think that's a great point, because that's something that I think we always kind of take for granted too. As far as like, grocery shopping, we expect things to be good because it's on sale, and everything has an expiration date on it and all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like that's something we obsess over. We don't know we do, but really but having it, it's like, yeah, it really does matter. So yeah, that's a great point. Did you have any more food hates, or are you drawing blanks?
I'm drawing blanks, man.
That's all good. I mean, hey, it's
sorry.
it's okay. It's better to like things than to hate things. So
True.
I only asked that question because I like to think of myself as like, oh, I love everything, but there are some foods I'm like, nope, no thanks. Like, hard pass. I've tried it, but I don't know. I think it's interesting how some people really just have stuff they will not eat. But you make great points though with stuff being too spicy, too, just not enough flavor even to. That's one thing I hate is like lack of salt. If something is not salted, it's especially meat, like non-salted meat is disgusting. It's just like I'm eating just protein. Like I'm not a tiger, if I can throw some salt on this. But
what I also don't like is, for example, like if you're cooking like ground turkey, if you don't like, what I like doing is putting wine into that meat to negate the meaty, right, taste. Yeah. So
yeah, ground turkey is that's a weird one because everyone always is like, oh, it's interchangeable with ground beef. Like, it's really not.
Always. No, yeah, not always.
Mostly because cows aren't poultry, and like it's like a cow isn't a bird. Thank you. Like,
true.
But it's like just because it cooks to the same color, it doesn't mean that it's the same thing.
No.
But no, that is funny because Derek actually, one of the things I'm trying to do for his episode, he had his first memory of food was like a bad one, and he's like, it was fucking turkey patties that my mom would make. And I'm like, I can only imagine. I was like, ground turkey? He's like, yeah, they're just like ground turkey that's cooked in a patty. It's like his description. Gross. His description was so lackluster, it depressed me. Like, So I'm trying to reinvigorate a turkey patty for him, and it's not easy. They're disgusting. It's like all I eat. It's like I just want a burger. It's like I just want a real fucking burger. Like, oh man. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about food wise, or any questions for me, or
When am I going to
else?
see you again?
I know.
Real.
Actually, I'm trying to figure out because this month is crazy because we're gonna launch a podcast network in October. So we're working out all the paperwork and like getting all that stuff organized. To get an LLC, yeah, I'm like going through and filing for the LLC, just so we can divert profits to it if we ever make money. But yeah, I don't know. So Dylan and we're also researching a fuckload for season 2. So this month is like crazy already, and I'm going home for my brother's 21st birthday. So
turning 21. Oh shit! Does that make you feel old or what?
Yes, I just turned 27. Just
yeah.
Well, it's fine. I secretly love cooking Thanksgiving. No, I don't secretly love it. I do love it. I do love cooking it for y'all because it's like my one mom moment a year.
Hey, we'd love having you cook for us. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie.
I beat Derek's dad's turkey in the turkey off for 2 years in a row.
Straight up?
Straight up. Derek's like, your turkey was better. I'm like, fuck yeah! Like, it's the fucking pound of butter I put in it.
Have you met Mr. Zoya to be able to make this even more?
No, I've never met his family just because they never visited the house when we lived at McAlpin.
Full time?
No, maybe to move him in, but I moved in late. I was like a month late to that party. So, because I had to, they got the lease in September and I moved in October. No, I moved in November. So they'd been living there a little bit already. So, but yeah, I never met Derek's family. I've met his brother. I've never met his parents though. I've known Aaron's parents though forever because I went to school with him. So it's like weird how I know the Kenosha people the way I do, because it's like some people I've known for like a decade and some people I've known
I assume
for
you'd
like
meet
3 years.
His parents, right? But I guess because of that connection, that weird.
Yeah, no, and I know Kenosha was a really big recruiting city for my school. So a lot of Kenosha people went to Wesleyan. So I know like inner circles of people people I know now, like who have met in Chicago, who know people that I went to college with when I met when I was like 18. It's just super weird. Yeah, it's like the smallest world. But same thing with Texas too. I know a lot of Texans the same way because we had a lot of Texans where I went to school.
Hard Texans, man.
They're
hard-ass Texans.
I love the Texans though. They're so sweet. All they want is a Whataburger.
Have you ever heard of St. Angelo, Texas? Just out of curiosity.
St. Angelo, Texas. No.
Cool. Just curious.
Where is it?
Fucking fine. It's where I have a really good friend who's I've been working and living with in Alaska for the past few years. He's from St. Angelo, Texas. I think it's by some university down there, but I don't know. He's always like, it's a piece of shit, little piece of nothing. Like no one even knows about it. Man, look how dark it is right now. This is insane, Wes. It's 12 and it's.
I know
it's my computer's like lighting my face like it's dark. Jesus.
Yeah, no, same here. I have like my desk light on.
Man.
Okay, I want to see the whole state of Texas. It's in like central Texas. Kind
Texas
of like
is so big. It's just mind blowing.
It's in like the desert part of Texas, like the
makes sense.
Yeah, because I'd say I don't know. A lot of my friends are from Houston.
Okay.
And I have one friend from Dallas. I think he's from Fort Worth though. So like it's not really Dallas. It's just where the airport is. But,
yeah, man. I'd be down for those little virtual. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see where it's at with this whole.
Yeah, I know. And it sucks because I miss all you guys so much. And that was another reason I wanted to do this show was because it's like this gives me a great excuse to talk with them for like 2 or 3 hours at a time.
This has been great.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I've been really happy producing these episodes and hearing everyone's backstory. Everyone is so different. And
I
it
cannot wait,
amazes
actually,
like
to be honest, to hear
Josh.
a lot of it.
Oh my God, Josh's was really cool too. And it's like stuff I didn't fucking know about y'all. And that was the big reason I was like, I don't know a lot of this stuff. I can't really write about them without knowing their full story and how I, because I can write all day about like, these are the things I've cooked for them, but it's like, well, what do they like? I don't want it to be like, this is just the food I like that I force upon my friends. Like,
Right.
what are the kind of things they have? And so not only that, but I think it'll be a great experiment because like I write down stuff as we talk, and those eventually I'll hunt for recipes and try to make like my own versions. Bernard is by far the hardest.
Really?
His parents are from Africa.
You're right.
So a lot of those recipes are like familial, they're not regional. So finding like a generic version of anything is very difficult. Because every family has their own way of cooking it.
Right.
But it's so fucking fascinating because it's like, I didn't know he was first generation.
Dude, I'm telling you, I cannot wait to hear all of this.
So eye-opening for everyone. It's so much fun. Wait. And then after, so you guys are Arc 1. So Arc 1 is the cookbook peeps. And then after that, I'm going to do my entire family. So when I go home, I'm recording with my mom, my aunt, my dad, my brother, and talking all about their history with food.
I envy your passion that you have for this. This is great.
It's so fun. To me, it's like I really didn't make much music throughout this whole quarantine, and I'm off work now through next year. So this is like this is now like becoming almost a business idea. Because it's like people are successful at this medium.
Absolutely.
And, it's fun because I get to see, it excites me a lot because I get to write. And I think I was telling Derek, it's like my whole life I've been told I'm a good writer, but that's just a skill I have. It's not the main thing I should focus on. So, and now I'm like, I've done a lot of shit and nothing makes me happier than writing. So it's like I've done music, I've done theater, I've done, everything. And for me, it's like I really enjoy writing. I should just do the writing. So, with podcasting, those two things just go hand in hand. And, it's almost nicer than music in that I get more of like an instant gratification of knowing I've worked hard on something and putting it out, on like a weekly basis. It's just kind of like, it's fun. And, Dylan, I really should credit Dylan a lot more than I do because the whole dog show was his idea.
No kidding.
And he sort of, he pitched it like, I want to say 2 years ago now. Like we started living together and he's like, we should do this podcast. And I was so wrapped up with work, all this stuff. And I thought that might have been my calling. And, and I was like, okay, well, let's see if we'll do it. And then right before I went to Germany, I was like, okay, yeah, well, let's develop it. And then in Germany, in the midst of COVID starting, and we had to like come back and early.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
It was crazy. And in that time, though, while I was there and just eating and writing, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be a restaurant manager. This isn't that. I was distracted for a while. And so having this quarantine, it's really been interesting to dive in on a whole different medium that I've never done. And the dog show, has been really fun and we enjoy it a lot. And we hope it picks up steam. But we were like, if we want it, and Dylan wants to produce more shows of his own, and and I'm doing this. And I was like, let's just start like a creative network.
You gotta start somewhere. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So it's really exciting. And, I'm hoping in a couple years or so, this can kind of be my living, along with book writing and stuff like that too. Cause the cookbook, because of all of this stuff I'm doing with you guys, the cookbook is becoming easier and easier to write.
Sure.
And I'm like, thank God, this is
Makes sense.
doing what it was supposed to do. But it's funny because like each chapter it's fleshed out from like 3 or 4 pages to like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages, depending on the person. Like Taylor's chapter is the longest only because there's like 7 or 8 recipes in her chapter.
Oh my God.
Because she has the Thanksgiving recipe.
Fucking Tay.
Chapter. She's like the last person I haven't scheduled to interview yet too. And
Damn
I
it.
was like, that's gonna be the longest
Talking
fucking
about
episode.
everyone. It's like, I fucking miss you guys. Like,
I
damn
miss
it.
you too,
Damn
bro.
it.
What I wouldn't give
Please,
to like have just give everyone like 5-minute long hugs.
it'd be great.
Oh my god, it's crazy. I do have the fond memory of the beginning of quarantine of you being like, well, fuck it, in case we all get COVID, like, and everyone was like, yeah, like that'll happen. Like we were all, it's like, and then not even 2 weeks later, it's like world enforced quarantine.
Yeah,
Like
lockdown, just
fuck,
shut.
yeah. I left for Germany not 2 days after that party too, and I remember coming
my
back,
God.
and I remember coming back to the apartment, and I just laughed. I was like, what? And because when we went back, or we had to come back, so we only did Berlin. We stayed in Berlin for 5 days. We were supposed to go do everything else for 5 days, and we cut that off.
What
And
were
so
the dates of this trip? Remind
it
me.
was March 10th to the 20th.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
The travel ban was announced on the 12th of March.
Wow.
On the 11th. We were only there for a day.
You were only there for a day?
We had 1 day of full vacation. And then at 2:00 in the morning in Germany, they announced that the U.S. had this travel ban announced. And our parents called us. We had to go to the Berlin airport to get our flights changed, only to find out Icelandair doesn't have a ticket booth at Berlin Tegel Airport. So don't go to the Berlin airport to change your tickets.
Pro
if you
tip.
fly from Berlin
Oh my
or
God.
fly on Icelandair. So we had to call Icelandair. We were on the phone for an hour and they're like on hold. And they booked us on a flight that following Saturday to come back to Chicago. So our flights were all in order. We did Berlin, and it was really weird because we ate at restaurants literally like the night before everything had to close.
Wow.
It was just like, it was very surreal. And we didn't have masks. We didn't.
Right.
They weren't.
Before all that. Imagine.
Yeah.
Now we're saying before all that. Oh my God.
So we get to our flight. We fly out of Berlin. That flight was an hour and a half late getting into Berlin. So when we get to Reykjavik, we learned that Icelandair has been late to Chicago so many times that flights have to take off without passengers. And so our flight to Chicago had taken off
What?
half an hour before we had landed. So we go out. No one tells us in the passport lane. They literally stamped our passports to go through to the flight. And we get there and they're like, that flight took off like 30 minutes ago.
You're like, what the actual?
What? And so we go to the help desk and they were super
God.
nice. They're like, you have a free hotel stay in Keflavik, which is just next door. And they're like, it has a great ocean view. And it really did. It was a fucking gorgeous ocean view.
All right.
Iceland is beautiful. Go. I told Richard, like, we should stay. They don't have it here yet. It is gorgeous. And then we flew to Chicago the next day, and we avoided all of that. On the news, there's that crazy, like, thousands of people backed up into O'Hare's, like, international wing. They were all gone by the time we got there. Damn. Customs took 5 minutes when we got there, and they scanned it, and we had to sign a piece of paper that was like, you will go into quarantine for 14 days, blah, 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 mail this back. And like, it was, yeah.
Was the airport just empty?
Empty.
Were you alone? Oh my God.
Not a soul in that airport.
My God.
It was very weird. There was one customs agent, and it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because if we would have flown back when we were supposed to, like, if we hadn't missed our flight, we would have been stuck in that huge, like, 10,000 people stuck in O'Hare situation. So it's like, well, we got a free night in Iceland, And I remember I told Richard, I was like, in hindsight, this will be a perk. Remember how we got to stay for a night free in Iceland right before we couldn't travel anywhere for years? Like,
true.
So yeah, it was a crazy time, and it's just been home ever since, and for a while. So, but yeah, no, it's funny just how it all started. And we threw a party being like, should we be worried about this? Probably not.
Probably not.
We had like 15 people over.
Hey, it was a good time. And none of us got COVID. Being
in Germany too, the attitude was so different, and it was calming to be there because people were so tranquil about it. They're like, well, this happens, and literally people there are like, this part of the world has lived through plague after plague after plague. It's
Right.
like, I think, it will be okay. And it's weird too, because I just read like a couple books, and they were talking about with a scientist who was working to prevent the next SARS coronavirus pandemic. And this book was written like 15 years ago. And I'm like, fucking crazy. And it's just like, well, that guy probably got fired. But like, but no, I mean, it's weird that this has been, and he was like, the next pandemic will be a SARS pandemic, and totally called it, because that's what it is. Craziness. And it's just like, it's weird that scientists have been like, yeah, you might want to be careful for like 15 years. And real hindsight's weird.
Dumb humans, dude.
Yeah.
Hindsight, dumb humans.
Hindsight, stupidity.
Hindsight's stupid. Yeah.
It's all good. I mean, we'll get back to the way of the world eventually. And
I hope, man.
I already started pulling grays out of my hair, so that's fun.
No!
It's like, I'm not even 30.
You're not allowed to yet. No.
Yeah, I know. And I remember I was like, Dylan, and I was holding it. It was just one silver hair. Like, what's happening? Like, and I haven't gotten my hair dyed professionally at all. So I don't have like the rich brown I usually do. It's like my natural hair color. I hate it. Well, thank you so much for being on this show and
it was my pleasure.
Sharing everything. It was great. Oh my God, it was so much fun. Every person it's
great.
been.
I cannot wait to hear everyone's story.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank my friend Dimitri for being on this show. If you'd like to support this show, don't forget to subscribe, and please give the show a rating on your favorite podcast directory. If you'd like to get in touch with us, please email us at gfbf@arcadiapodcastnetwork.com. I hope you join me next week for another episode of Good Food for Bad Friends from the Arcadia Podcast Network.
Have you ever looked at a dog and thought, what kind of dog is that? Or wondered why some dogs look so different from others? Me too. And I wish there was some way to explore these questions and cast them out into the world in some sort of pod. Oh, podcasts. Right, I have a podcast. I'm Dylan. I've been a dog walker for over 3 years. My boyfriend Wesley and I really want a dog of our own. But what kind of dog? We decided to make a whole podcast to discuss just that. It's called We're Getting a Dog. Each week, we discuss a different dog breed. We go deep on the breed's history and discuss what it takes to own each dog. You can find video on YouTube, audio on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and everything you need at we'regettingadog.com. This is the Arcadia Podcast Network.